But at some point in time, I would whisper in his ear, Hamas won. Hamas won. They got everything they wanted. Thank you, Mr. President, on behalf of Hamas.
We have special guests with us, ladies and gentlemen. Ian Carroll, citizen journalist, online educator, whose motto is follow the money, seek the truth, do your own research. That sounds very right-wing. He also hosts the online show Cancel This, and his TikTok currently boasts more than 1.8 million followers. Boy, I wonder what he's not posting over there. Please welcome back to the show, Ian Carroll. Hey, Ian, how are you?
Good to see you again, Jimmy.
So
I'm basically not posting anything on TikTok anymore.
Did they go back and take down some of your stuff?
Yeah, it was right after the deal started to go through. My most recent one got taken down. I haven't posted since. I'm not surprised. We've seen it before. Yeah, TikTok's a can of worms. Not a fan.
So I wanted to talk to you quick. There's a peace deal. Well, there's a ceasefire deal. And here's a very quick summary. Multi-phase framework focused primarily on ending the 2-year Gaza war rather than resolving the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The first phase, which is Israel approved on October 9th, includes an immediate ceasefire, release of all remaining Israeli hostages, which there are about 48, and within 72 hours. And then Israel's going to release approximately 2,000 Palestinian. Wow, that doesn't seem equal, does it? 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, including 250 serving life sentences, and 1,700 detained since October 7th, 2023. Partial withdrawal from Gaza, with forces remaining along the Philadelphia corridor, that's the Gaza-Egypt border, for security. So I guess they occupy about 70% of Gaza right now, and they're supposed to pull back to 50%. That's what I've heard. And they're going to open the Rafah crossing for humanitarian aid under international oversight. Subsequent phases, negotiations to begin post-hostage release, outline Gaza's demilitarization, transitional governance by Palestinian technocrats under the International Board of Peace, which is going to be chaired by Trump, and large-scale reconstruction funded by Gulf states and international donors. And what I just want to this is what Scott Ritter has to say about it.
Because Hamas wants a Palestinian state. I mean, that's what this was all about. This was about creating the conditions for a Palestinian state, and now Hamas actually has a deal. Again, people need to put this in perspective. Go back to the days and weeks after October 7th, 2023, when the initial discussions were being had about a ceasefire and what Hamas's demands are. Every single demand of Hamas has been met. I mean, this is a Hamas peace treaty. Trump has packaged it up and has sold it to the Israelis, but Hamas is getting everything they asked for. So, why would Hamas do this? Because this is what they've wanted all along. The idea that they're a terrorist organization that exists just to run around and blow things up and commit violence and kill Israel and all is absurd in the extreme. Hamas has been fighting for a Palestinian state, for a Palestinian homeland, and this agreement creates the opportunity for that. So that's exactly why Hamas would be willing to do all this. But at some point in time, I would whisper in his ear, Hamas won. Hamas won. They got everything they wanted. Thank you, Mr. President, on behalf of Hamas.
So that's Scott Ritter saying Hamas actually won this war. They got everything they wanted. I think that remains to be seen. But go ahead, unpack this. We'll take it where you want, Ian.
Yeah, obviously it's very fresh, and there's a lot more that we don't know than that we do know. One thing we do know is that we've seen Israel violate countless ceasefires in the past, but I'm optimistic about this one, and I'm trying to stay that way. Because Scott's right that Hamas and the Palestinians in general are getting a lot of what they want, but unfortunately it's at an extremely high toll of loss of life. You made a funny comment about the unequal number of prisoners being exchanged. And it's, when you know about how many Palestinians have been rotting away in Israeli prisons with no due process for years in some cases, it's not surprising that the deal includes the release of a whole bunch more Palestinians than Israelis. But I'm glad that I'm glad about hostages being exchanged in all regards and people being hopefully set free peacefully. And I noticed that the plan, they mentioned that Israel wanted there to be no big media circus around the hostage release, which makes sense because the media did not go so well for Israel the last time that we had a bunch of hostages being released. Memes still circulate to this day of like Israeli prisoners saying things to Hamas terrorists or whatever.
Saying nice things and thanking them
right?
for the
saying bye, shukran.
Giving a warm goodbye to their hostage keepers, and so they don't want people to see that. They don't want to see that Hamas actually took good care of the hostages, unlike when Palestinians inside of an Israeli jail.
Or at least as good a care as they can while they're under siege, right?
Right, correct.
And starving and all these things.
Yeah.
Hopefully this ends the famine. But there's all these complex layers wrapped up in this. And I think the best place for people to start to access this and look into it and research it and gain a more complex understanding of what I think is going on here is the word technocrats. Because in the reporting, and almost all of the reporting, you can see that they say that the leadership of Gaza will be handed over to an interim government of technocrats. And there's a couple of, it's not entirely clear what they mean on face value, but one thing is that they're apparently like non-political. They're not partisan. They're not, they're mostly businessmen, educated people, and they're people that have interests aligned with the global banking cartel.
Oh, really?
Because if you look into what has been happening in the West Bank as of last year, their new government as of last March-ish is also led by technocrats. And a lot of the leadership in the West Bank right now, the word technocrats means previously worked for the World Bank, previously worked with these globalist financial power centers. And so that starts to it starts to explain why a deal might be being made, because the deal is logically going to benefit the banking cartel if the banking cartel is being put in power in these places. But also it starts to explain how we might be watching maximum profit being extracted from every part of this plan, because the war was extremely profitable for bankers and war profiteers the world over. And now I would expect that the reconstruction process will be milked for all that it's worth too. But that doesn't necessarily make it bad as far as I'm concerned. The stopping of the killing is great. And if, it's going to happen in a corrupt way, at least it's less killing, hopefully. But I am reticent to, jump up and down and clap and celebrate, because there's a lot we still don't know. And there's a whole lot of what looks like the same old players profiting in the same old ways, just with a new script this time.
So here's a video of them leaving. So now they're going back to their homes in Gaza City. And
what's left of them.
Yeah, what's left of Gaza City and what's left of the Palestinians. Thousands of displaced Palestinians started streaming back towards their abandoned homes after a ceasefire deal went into. So let's listen. So here, look at this.
It's wild to watch. It's incredible.
It is incredible.
Yeah, it's tragic. Hopefully it's happy in the end.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And so under the terms, Hamas is expected to release 20 living Israeli hostages within 72 hours, after which Israel will release 250 Palestinians serving long terms in Israeli prisons, as well as 1,700 after that.
I think that'll be really telling what happens after Israel gets their hostages back.
Yes.
I don't want to, be a broken record and just assume that Israel will do something bad after they've got their hostages back. I'm hoping that the deal holds, and the peace is assured. But I'm very much waiting to see when the hostage exchange happens. What's the next move, and is everyone acting in good faith from there on? Because Israel has been claiming that the hostage release is their whole mission all along. But when you actually look at statements being made by people in Israel's government and Israel's military, it's pretty apparent that actually a lot of violence, bloodshed, occupation, land grabbing seemed to be on a lot of their minds. So I'm hoping that Trump has enough strength and he has enough partnership with the Gulf states around Israel to get this thing to stick. That would be truly monumental if it can.
So, we've talked about this before. Trump has this 20-point plan, but it's still that has not been accepted by both sides. That needs to be ironed out with negotiators. Trump's plan also calls for Hamas to disarm, for the Gaza Strip to be governed by an international transitional government, and for a full Israeli withdrawal to a buffer zone on the Strip's border. Now, why would to voluntarily disarm doesn't seem wise? Does it seem wise to you?
Not really. There's an element where in this current political environment, I could understand how it's safer to disarm now than maybe ever before, because there's so many eyes on Israel, and Israel is in such a precarious position on the global stage. And now that Trump is sort of staking his reputation, although, we've seen him destroy his reputation for apparently no reason on other things like Epstein. But now that Trump is apparently staking his reputation as the peace president on this deal, I think that there's a better chance of disarming going well than there ever has been before. And I do think that if I was to see it from the Israelis' side, having Hamas armed in the Strip definitely keeps tensions high, and tensions high is a risky thing right now. So I don't know what to make of that. It's going to be a part of the plan regardless. I don't see Israel agreeing to the plan without it. So at a certain point, it's kind of from where we're sitting, it's kind of watch and see.
Well, here is a former Israeli hostage negotiator. He says the ceasefire deal agreed upon this week, it could have been done over a year ago. Let's listen.
Well, in May of 2024, President Biden then presented what I thought was a bad deal. It was a partial deal that would not end the war and would not bring all the hostages home. So in July, August, hostage families approached me and asked me if I could help negotiate a better deal. I contacted Hamas interlocutors that I've been in contact with now for 18 years and asked if Hamas was willing to make a full comprehensive deal at that time. I spoke to Israeli military people and asked them how long it would take Israel to withdraw from Gaza, and they told me 3 weeks. So I told Hamas, would you be willing to make a deal that in 3 weeks the war would end, all the hostages would be released, more than are there right now, and Israel would withdraw from Gaza. There'd be security guarantees and other elements of the deal. And Hamas said yes, after the leadership approved it. And I received it in writing, in Arabic and in English, transmitted it to the Israeli negotiators, who told me that it was a great deal, but the prime minister refuses to end the war. I tried to get the Americans directly engaged. The deal went to the desk of President Biden, but his main point man on the negotiations, Brett McGurk, refused to look at it. His own negotiators told me that they were very frustrated. I was invited to Qatar and presented it to the Qataris, but they all told me that they couldn't do anything unless the Americans bought into it, which didn't happen. So the deal that was being done today could have been done last September.
So,
I mean, in some ways, it could have been done on day one, because on the first day, Hamas offered to exchange all of their prisoners if Israel didn't enter the Gaza Strip, which Israel was never going to agree to, and they didn't. But, the barrier to peace has kind of been Israel's desire to level Gaza and America's apparently inability to lead the world the entire time.
100%. Here's one more. Wolf Krieger says Israel was forced into this, and they don't want it. That's obvious, which means it won't last. Unfortunately,
I'm worried about that.
Yeah,
I'm very worried about that.
They'll find some way to get the war machine going again, and I agree, because they're not going to abandon the Greater Israel Project. Hey, let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot, right? Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity called Comet. It is completely changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet. Yes, do things, not just give you answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you, and it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would to get things done for you in the background while you go about your day. Comet can shop for you. It can make reservations. It can book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life easier. Let me show you how it works. Please find restaurants in Los Angeles that are open late on Thursdays and have jazz music. So now it's going to do that for me. It types it in on its own, and boom. Now there it is. There's I've been to 2 of these places actually. I've been to the Baked Potato right there. I've been to the Vibrato Lounge. So that's how it works. That's nice, right? Pretty cool. So download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, by heading to pplx.ai/Dore and let your browser work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free. That's pplx.ai/Dore. Go now and take back your time online. October 19th, we'll be in Irvine, California. We'll be in Australia. Then we'll be in Burbank, California the day after Thanksgiving. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.